at what we found. It's a big sound in a small town. Far from the bright lights, they're making music every night. Hear what is all around. It's a big sound in a small town. It's a big sound in a small town. It's a big sound in a small town.
Hi, I'm at the Earl Scruggs Music Festival today, and my guest is Alison Brown, Banjoist, we're at Earl Scruggs Festival, so I could not have picked a better one.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Thank you. Okay, let's talk banjo. Since this podcast is run out of the Earl Scruggs Center,
Okay.
let's really talk banjo.
Okay.
What banjo are you playing these days?
Well, live I play a Pruka signature model banjo that was made for me by Jaroslav Pruka, who
Right.
is in the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
And a great luthier. And I also play a Deering Julia Bell model banjo for a low banjo.
Okay. Well, what made me think of that is when we were talking about the Czech Republic, I kind of done my homework and realized that's probably the banjo you played at the time. I didn't really realize if that was your on stage, which you play as your go-to instrument or not.
Yeah, that's actually that's the one I find myself playing most of the time.
Right.
Yarda built it to our requested specs, and it's a really nice playing instrument. I do have an original 5-string flathead master tone, which I play at home.
Right.
But anymore, it's like I'd be afraid to be
Sure.
separated from it out on the road.
Well, it's made like for you, so I guess that's really a special thing.
But I also have a Vega soloist banjo that was Earl's banjo.
Oh, really?
That I got in an estate sale a couple of years ago.
Ah.
And that's super cool because, and Gary Scruggs told me this after I got the banjo, that Earl at one point got really into engraving stuff, I think
Right.
after their house had been broken into. So when I sit and look at this banjo, I see like E-S, E-S, E-S engraved all over the metal parts of this banjo where he kind of put his initials in the instrument.
That's funny because his Reuben banjo is at the Earl Scruggs Center now, and you can see the ES on it.
Okay, well, so it's a thing, yeah.
It is a thing. So it's that's pretty cool that you have one with that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay, I have a lot of bluegrass techie people, so we're going to take this follower. I guess you don't use any type of amplification for this.
Well, I do. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
No, that's good because my people, I have a lot of banjo. This is run out of Earl Scruggs Center, so there's a lot of banjo players listening.
Okay, so my favorite sound is the sound of a banjo acoustically.
Yeah.
But when you take the banjo into a different arena, like especially if you're playing with drums,
Sure.
all of a sudden, you're sonically in a competition.
Right.
And so I use a DI on my banjo
Yeah.
live into a tone dexture preamp.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's cool.
And the whole goal is to make the banjo sound like the banjo.
Sure.
But it takes some reinforcement to do that. Otherwise, if you're just trying to play into a mic, you would never get enough gain before feedback, and no one would be able to hear
Right.
it.
Do you use the same thing in the studio, or do you experiment kind of differently in the studio?
Well, I never record direct in the studio. It's
Right.
always, and I usually prefer ribbon mics, but we're always experimenting too because we're fortunate to have a studio at Compass Records, and a great engineer, Matt Coles, who's with us today. So if you really want to dig into that stuff, I'll introduce you to
Yeah,
Matt.
that would be good.
They'll go down that road with you.
We could put a side note. Okay, everyone's asked you about Earl Scruggs, but I will ask you, Scruggs tuners. Have you ever used or had banjos with the Earl Scruggs tuners on?
Yes and yes.
Yeah, I mean that is a banjo question, and
Yeah. No, I love messing around with tuners,
Yeah.
and I've actually wrote a tune. Well, my favorite Earl Scruggs tuners tune is Earl's Breakdown.
Yeah,
When I first heard that tune, I was probably 10 years old, and I'm like, well, that's like the best piece of music I've ever heard.
it
It's
is a
just
mighty fine
genius,
piece of
right?
music. Yeah,
So some years later, I wrote a tune that also uses tuners that's called Girls Breakdown.
all right. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I knew that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's would that be your favorite Earl Scruggs song, or?
Oh, if I had to pick a favorite, yeah, that one really, really spoke to me early on. So it would, yeah, I guess that would be my number one.
That's really cool. Okay, so from an educational standpoint, how much teaching do you do?
Well, I'm on the adjunct faculty at the Blair School of
Right.
Music at Vanderbilt, only because I was talking to the dean of the school, and I'm like, what? You don't have a banjo teacher? And we're in Nashville. I'll do it. So
Right.
I occasionally teach some kids that come through Vanderbilt. I do camps very occasionally,
Right.
but I love teaching. And actually, I really love teaching older people who've sacrificed their vacations to be taking
really?
banjo. And so I'm really a big believer in the play it forward aspect of this music. And
I
know
agree,
that when
totally.
I was learning to play, I can't think of anybody who didn't, take their time to ask me, answer my questions.
Sure.
How did you do that? Or could you show me this? And so I love passing it along.
That is musicians are that way generally.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
they're
in
really
this
good.
music,
Yeah, in this
I think
music.
that's what makes our community so special.
It is. And you've been asked this already, but there's not really a crossover, is there? I mean, it's just all music. I mean, we talk about you have a jazz flavor, but you can play traditionally. Basically, it's just all music, is it not?
Yeah, it's all music, but the music marketplace wants to put things in bins.
Categories, yeah.
And even though we don't have so much brick and mortar retail anymore, where there's still some, but yeah, people still need to kind of put things in categories, I think, in their minds at least.
Sure.
Although I see that the border lines of different kinds of styles are blurring. And
There are.
that's been one of the really good things, I think, about all these, DSP and the digital services, and the fact
Right.
that all the music in the world kind of is on your phone.
Right.
So if you're curious about showroom music, it's really easy to find, and then why not take a bit of that and incorporate it into your banjo playing? And
Right.
I don't think that's illegitimate. So
Yeah, I think it's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exposure to the world of music to people who are just strictly. All I've heard is Earl Scruggs 5-string, or even maybe clawhammer. So
right.
that's really good. I like the fact that you've broadened the horizons of banjo.
Well, I appreciate that. I think the banjo's the greatest instrument, and I think everybody should have a banjo in their house, and everybody should play the banjo. But I think for people who aren't familiar with it and aren't part of our community, they may just think it can only do this like bank robbery and high-speed car chase music, and it's just about Deliverance, and it's just about Beverly Hillbillies, and they don't get that it actually has this much longer history, and it can go many places musically, and it just is a function of the imagination that people bring to the instrument.
Sure.
So that's what I like to try to do, is kind of reach out beyond the community and try to bring in new fans.
Sure. And I think this is a festival. Part of it is there's a different array of banjo players here too than most bluegrass festivals. I mean, this is labeled as a bluegrass festival, but I've listened to the bluegrass banjo players here. I've listened to all of the banjo players, and banjo's alive and well.
Yes, sir.
And
It totally is.
And I mean, people think that it is not sometimes. I mean, I think people think that banjo is a dying art or a small art.
I don't feel that way at all. I mean, you're hearing it pop up in all different kinds of music. Or like when I get to go out and play with Indigo Girls or play on their records. I mean, obviously they've got a foot in folk music,
Sure
but they've got
they
another
do.
foot in rock, and it goes.
Yeah, it does.
It totally works. And I'm co-chairman of the Steve Martin Banjo Prize.
Yeah.
And so when it hit its 10-year point, we kind of reconfigured the prize to make it about banjo with a capital B, 4-string, 5-string, clawhammer, Irish, whatever.
Sure.
And I think that that's a really positive thing too. There's so many different styles. Why not,
There is.
it's a big bucket of banjo. Why not let people in on all the great kinds of music?
I agree. You got a new record coming. I heard you talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Different players on it than you've had play with you before.
Oh, some old friends and some
Some
new
new,
ones for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, definitely kind of reached across, genre divides and
Right.
collaborated with Sharon Isman, who's
Yeah, I saw her,
classical guitar player, and she's amazing. She's, I think, the first classical guitarist to win a Grammy for classical guitar.
Could
I
be,
mean, male or female.
Right.
And that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that
you
would
know.
be really cool.
And Kronos String Quartet, too, obviously more in the classical space, but a wide open musical vision. That was pretty amazing to try to go inside their bubble and figure out how to make the banjo work.
Right.
And then some, Steve Martin played great clawhammer banjo. We wrote a tune together.
Yeah, Steve's a fun guy.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, isn't he?
He's a funny guy, but he's a serious musician.
He's a very
I
serious
think people
musician.
really miss the fact that he is really really a good banjo player, serious
And
banjo player.
he's a rare bird too, because usually people play clawhammer or three finger.
True, this is
but he
true.
does both.
He does, and does both of them pretty well.
Yeah, and he does have a gorgeous touch on the clawhammer.
When will your new project come out?
It's well, I need to talk to the record label, but should be first quarter.
Yeah, that's great. I thank you for taking the time to come by here and
Of course. Well, thanks for all you do for the banjo.
talk. Thank you. It's
We
part
really
of
appreciate
what
it.
we do. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we're back with a couple additional questions for Alison Brown. String gauges.
Yes, sir. I was hoping you were going to ask me that. Okay, so on a G banjo, like the regular tune banjo, 10, 12, 14, 22. So that's kind of like a light
Yeah,
medium
yeah.
kind of set. And then on the low banjo, when I tune to E,
Right.
it's like 12, 14, 16, 24.
You have I guess you have a contract with someone who makes those for you, or do you
The
find-
strings?
Yeah.
Oh, heck no.
Oh, that's great. I love that. I
Yeah,
mean,
I play D'Addario strings.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Dario's what I also play, so they're great
Oh,
strings.
so we didn't talk about your banjo.
Yeah, mine's pork. I'm embarrassed to sit here. I have an Earl Scruggs flathead too. It's
Do you have an original
yeah,
flathead?
yeah.
No kidding. What year?
24, I think it is.
Wow. And where is it?
Sitting at my house.
Okay, well, that's a good place for it.
Yeah, I don't take it out and play.
Yeah, there's nothing like those old flatheads.
And then I have a regular Earl Scruggs model
Mm-hmm.
banjo too. So
Yeah, those old flatheads are amazing.
They
The
are
old
amazing.
banjos of any kind are amazing to me. I've got a few banjarines from like
Yeah.
the 1890s.
yeah, those are cool too.
Oh, so cool. I
Yeah.
love those
I
instruments.
think about you see like Rihanna Giddens and playing different. That's also a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much history to our instrument.
There is.
I mean, Earl Scruggs is a big, important chapter.
Sure.
But before Earl,
Oh yeah.
all that
Oh,
history and all
I
that
agree.
great music, and there's so many great ideas that it's just fun to reach back and like listen to Wes Osman or some of that other music.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like take some of those ideas forward. Why not? It's all banjo. It's so awesome.
All right, let's do the thumb picks and the finger picks.
Okay, thumb picks. Thumb pick using a blue chip pick.
Yeah.
They've got I think it's a J.D. Crowe model.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, got that one. And then finger picks. So I used to use old Nationals.
Yeah.
And then when those became hard to find,
Yeah, they're hard to find.
so hard to find, I switched to the Showcase 1941s.
Oh yeah, that's good.
And those are pretty comfortable and
Do
work
you-
really well.
I guess people want to know. I mean, so once you get a set, you carry them with you like your car
Right.
keys.
So no, like it'd be more like a pair of diamond earrings, right?
So
Yeah, it's like I'm so envious of guitar players, like who can or people who like have their picks on their mic stands,
Oh,
like a
yeah,
pick,
pick it up,
whatever,
pick
just
any of
any
them
old
up,
pick will work.
sure.
Yeah, it's an act of Congress to break in a new set of picks. So.
all right. Well, thank you again.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you.
All right.